Have you ever really stopped to think about what a memory is? I mean, really? Is it some perfect, crystal clear recording of the past? Or is it something else? Today we're diving into a fascinating model that sees your brain less like a video camera and more like a master architect.
So let's just get right to it with the big question. When you think back to, say, your first day of school, are you just hitting play on a file stored in your head, or is your brain actually rebuilding that entire moment from scratch? Well, according to this model, it's not a recording at all. It's a reconstruction.
All right, section 1, let's talk about the memory architect. This is a whole new way of thinking about how we remember things. And you know, the main idea is pretty simple. Remembering isn't about finding a memory, it's about building it. Your brain is literally constructing your past, piece by piece.
Okay, so here's the official definition. The brain isn't just a passive storage unit. It's actively building, and the key word here is consistent concepts. It takes all these little bits and pieces of things that happened, what scientists call partial sequences of events, and it weaves them into a story that makes sense. The goal isn't perfect pinpoint accuracy. The goal is a memory that feels coherent.
So, if our brain is an architect, every architect needs building materials, right? Well, in this case, the raw materials are the little fragmented moments of our lives. Let's get into how the architect gathers them. So get this, your brain doesn't record your life like one long, continuous movie. Nope, it's way more efficient than that. It captures snippets, a sound, a sight, a feeling over here, a smell over there. These are the raw, totally incomplete fragments that are going to become a memory later on.
Exactly. A great way to think about it is this. It's not a finished film. It's more like the cutting room floor, you know? It's just covered in these short, totally disconnected clips. So, the architect's first job is just to go around and gather up all these scattered pieces.
Okay, so we've got our piles of raw materials, all those disconnected clips. Now for the amazing part. How does the architect take that chaos and draft a blueprint to turn it into something that actually makes sense, a coherent memory?
Well, it follows a pretty straightforward three-step process. First, step 1, it has to gather all those raw fragments we just talked about. Then, step 2, it has to organize them, kind of like sorting them into a hierarchy of what's important and what's just a minor detail. And then, step 3, and this is the absolute key, it has to blend them all together to make them consistent.
This blending step, honestly, it's the secret sauce. This is the magic. It's where the brain takes all these separate, sometimes even contradictory little clips, and it just merges them. It fills in the gaps, it smooths out all the rough edges, and it creates one single consistent story. And you can see the difference is, well, it's night and day. Without blending, you've just got this jumbled, fragmented, even contradictory mess of events. But with blending, you get a coherent, consistent concept. It's the difference between a messy pile of bricks and a finished house. And you know, this is also why eyewitness testimony can be so tricky. Sometimes the architect just invents little details to make the final story feel more complete. But here's the thing. This architect isn't working off some fixed, unchangeable blueprint. No way! It's learning on the job, constantly adapting with every new thing we experience. The entire structure of our memory is basically a lifelong work in progress.
What this means is that your memory isn't built in a day. It's constructed bit by bit, experience by experience, over your entire life. Each new thing that happens to you provides more raw material, sure, but it also teaches the architect how to build better, more complex, more sophisticated memories.
So how does it actually learn? Well, it happens through a process called synaptic adaptation. To put it simply, the connections between your brain cells, your neurons, they actually change based on your experiences. The pathways that lead to a good, useful, consistent memory, they get stronger. The ones that don't, they get weaker. In our little analogy, this is literally how the architect figures out which blueprints are worth keeping and which ones need a rewrite. So, let's zoom out. What's the big picture here? Why does any of this matter? Why is it so important that our memory is a construction project and not just a recording? Well, here are the main things to take away. First, memory is an active building process. It's not just passive recording. Second, your brain's main goal is to create consistent stories, not perfect replays. Third, this whole process happens slowly, incrementally, over your entire life. And what does that all add up to? It means that you are the lead architect of your own remembered reality. And if there's one thing you remember from this, let it be this. That memory you have, the one that feels so real and clear in your mind, that's not the event. It's not. It's your brain's finished masterpiece.
It's the final, blended, polished architectural model of that event. It's a reconstruction. It's the story your brain decided to tell.
Which, of course, leaves us with one last kind of mind-bending question to think about. If our past isn't some fixed thing that's set in stone, but instead it's a structure that our architect brain is constantly renovating, what does that mean for our future? Who are you building yourself to be?